Now we will have a Dharma talk led by Reverend David Payne.
Namandavits, 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 namandavits. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all in TV land joining our youth service today. This is the annual service where we meet everybody and greet you back to our virtual church in the month of, well, is it October? Well, it's usually in the month of September, but welcome to October. So today, I want to talk to you something that I often get asked about. I often get asked, Reverend David, or David, what is a Buddha? And this is often followed by the next question is Buddha a god? So I want to talk about these two things today. And given that we're the Buddhist Church of San Francisco, and our temple has something to say about Buddha or Buddhism, I think it was the appropriate topic for our youth service today. So in its most basic form, a Buddha is wise and compassionate. In its basic form, a Buddha is wise and compassionate. These are really important values in our world today when we're faced with climate change, COVID, confusion about whether we should be going to school or not, and the new rules that we have to follow at school. In these times, it would be helpful to have someone that's wise and compassionate to help us get through these problems, to figure them out and tell us what to do and show us some guidance. This, however, is an ordinary kind of wisdom. It's the wisdom you get when you've been around the world a couple of laps, a couple of years or two, perhaps like your grandparents or your parents. But this wisdom is not just for the elderly, although it's probably that our elders think, oh, us young people, and I'm going to put myself in there as young people, but you all young people, well, you don't have the wisdom yet. Not like when I was growing up, right? But this is not true as well. It's not just for the elderly, since anywhere there is wisdom and compassion, there is the seed of Buddhahood, of becoming Buddha. And no matter how young or how small, you can have that seed and grow it. But this is not the same as being a Buddha. A Buddha is infinitely wise and infinitely compassionate. And by compassion, the Buddha understands all of our human silliness and our suffering, from scuffed knees and a big question like, what happens when I die? And will the forest all burn up before I get to grow up? These are very troubling questions, and they are particularly important because you all are growing up in now what scholars call the age of risk. In the modern age, which many of your parents and I grew up in, we created wonderful technology. We created the internet. We created HD TV, we created Snapchat and TikTok, but our wisdom lacked compassion. And so our internet turned into the dark web of internet scams and internet viruses and places where my kids say, Dad, don't torrent, it's not a safe thing to do. So you click on the wrong link and you end up in places where you don't know what's good and what's not. Doesn't anyone care about people in the world? Why do they create viruses? Why don't we just have a place where everybody can go, get what we need, this be a wonderful internet-connected world? But no, we're in this postmodern era, the age of risk. And I'm sorry that you're going to have to live through it and worry about our future. But this is where the Buddha comes in. The Buddha arises from the wish for a wise and compassionate world, a wise and compassionate society, and that we all become wise and compassionate people. This is what the Buddha wishes for us, and the Buddha does this in many ways. How, David, does the Buddha do this? Well, sometimes the Buddha's wish comes as a child's smile. Now, you may not like your brother and sisters that are younger than you, but when they're smiling and giggling, it's hard not to giggle as well. And the Buddha sometimes comes as a flower or a salamander on a rock or a snail making snail trails across your favorite glass window looking out into the yard. Or it comes as your favorite teacher or Clay Thompson coming back to the Warriors. These are all the ways the Buddha comes to us, taking many forms to awaken us to the little things. It's these little things that help us to learn to become wise and caring so that one day we too can become a Buddha. So that's a Buddha. Someone and something that is wise and compassionate, and wherever that wisdom and compassion is, that's where Buddha lies. So the next question I get is, well, I'll turn this way. Well, David, is Buddha a god? And so here I'm going to ask you what you mean by God. If you're thinking of Zeus and Mars like you read in your classrooms, or Baldur from Ragnarok in the Avengers, then I'm going to say no. But if you mean by God a source of wisdom and compassion, then I would say yes. So now, after having answered your questions, I hope, now I get to ask you a question. Do you think that one day you can become wise and caring? Do you think that you could become wise and caring? If the answer is yes, I see a yes and a couple of nods, then you're on a good path. Please join me in Gassho, where we say the Nembutsu. Nembutsu means we take refuge, or you might think of it as we thank Buddha for the wisdom and compassion that's bestowed upon us. All right, I'm going to turn and face the Buddha, but put your hands together like this. This means we show with deep reverence our thankfulness to the Buddha for bringing us great wisdom and great compassion. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. May you learn with each moment in your life how to be more wise and more compassionate and make this a better place for all of us. Thank you.